Hello and welcome to HomeTech. HomeTech is a podcast dedicated to discovering new and emerging technologies for the home. We discuss news about the Internet of Things, home automation, and more. I'm Seth Johnson in Florida, and I'm joined by Jason Griffin in Los Angeles. Hi, and welcome to HomeTech. I'm Seth Johnson. I'm joined by Jason Griffin. Jason, how's it going?
It's going great, Seth. How are you?
Doing well. It's had a beautiful day yesterday here in Florida, and then actually got a sunburn, and
nice.
now it's raining again. So,
oh well, 'tis the season.
Yeah, it's cold too. You don't realize it, but you can get a sunburn very quickly if it's 49 degrees out and you don't feel like you're getting hot, and then at the end of the day you're beet red.
Yeah, I'm a very, very fair-skinned guy myself, so I'm all too familiar with that.
Yep, same here. Just wasn't paying attention. Was out in a field doing some field recording and got it. So
got burnt.
Yep, got burnt.
Nice, man. Well, it's been a busy week in home technology and tech in general.
Yeah, I see that Verizon looks like it's getting back into home automation, which is weird. We just talked a couple weeks ago that they had pulled out, and now
we did. Yeah,
now they're back in.
It wasn't that long ago, so their exit doesn't appear to have lasted very long. Although we should be clear that this is not like official news. I mean, they don't have product shipping or on the shelves or anything like that. But it was reported by Fierce Cable, which is a pretty widely followed blog in those circles, and yeah, it looks like they're getting back into the home automation game. So definitely is interesting news.
Yeah, what's interesting, it looks like they're going with Zigbee over Z-Wave, which is interesting because Zigbee traditionally is less cost effective, I guess.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean traditionally your Zigbee dimmers are going to be over $100, floating around that $120, $130 range. And your Z-Wave dimmers get down to, I've seen them as low as $40 and $50. I don't know if that's on the black market or whatnot, but I've seen them pretty low. Probably the average I would say is around $75 for a Z-Wave device. So yeah, it's interesting that they're going with Zigbee. But it looks like they got caught up in the whole Motorola acquisition. The company they were using for home was part of Motorola, which got acquired by Google, and then it got spun off, I'm sure, again. So it's interesting. I guess that's why they ended up pulling completely out of the home automation market and now jumping back in with a new company, it looks like.
Yeah, it gets a little convoluted. There was acquisitions and I guess mergers and that sort of stuff going on kind of behind the scenes. But yeah, there are business ties between the companies providing the technology now and who was providing the technology before. So when Verizon initially had their home automation line out, they were, I think it was 4 Home, like you said, the number 4 and then Home. They were acquired by Motorola, and that was the platform that was the provided for the Verizon home monitoring and control service, which is now defunct. And on this upcoming product, they're working with a company called Greenwave Reality, and the platform is home to cloud. So there are some connections between those two companies, and it gets a little bit convoluted, but it's just interesting to see them getting back into the game. And I'm actually a little surprised to see, it seems like they're hitching themselves to Zigbee, like we were just talking about. And I don't know if that's like an exclusive deal. I mean, to me, it seems like the companies that are doing this right or correctly are companies like SmartThings or Revolve, where there's multiple radios inside of one device so that they can, bring all of these different devices together that speak over Zigbee or Z-Wave or Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. And what I read indicated that this was primarily a Zigbee device, which, I don't know, struck me as maybe a little bit limiting, but I'm not sure what your thoughts are on that.
I've worked a little bit in the area of this mass deployment idea. And, they basically want to have one point of failure, I guess. They want to know the product that they're working on inside and out. And with a company like SmartThings, they're going to be able to be flexible. This kind of links back to the last episode. We were talking about big ships being hard to turn. These guys, when they go to deploy, they're not deploying in 2 or 3 homes. They're going into 2 or 3,000 homes a month, which that's staggering to think about. So when they start moving, they really don't have the time or money to be wasted on not knowing what some new product that just hit the market, and it's they need to be able to put this stuff in, make sure it's reliable, make sure it works, and get out. But yeah, it's interesting that and with Verizon, and I guess Comcast has an internet based. Time Warner has one internet. Comcast has an internet based home automation system. I think Time Warner does, and AT&T does. I mean, all these guys, they just want to get that little extra monthly charge on your bill for you. So I think that's their main motivation, really. Over,
you know what? Yeah, and I think you're right, and that's probably what it comes down to when they're choosing a mode of communication like Zigbee exclusively, or at least it seems like they are, is that the service that they're offering comes with a monthly subscription, and therefore the end users are going to have a level of expectation of performance and service if things go wrong. Whereas a company like SmartThings or Revolve, it's kind of just understood that you're buying a product and it's a purely do-it-yourself or DIY product. So when things don't work, I mean, maybe you can pick up the phone and possibly get a hold of somebody in support, but there's not that same level of expectation in terms of service. So I'm sure that plays into it. And when Verizon or AT&T or Comcast or Time Warner look into offering a product like this, I'm sure that comes into consideration. And they're not just going to, throw in a bunch of radios into their product so that they can support every protocol out there without the expectation of having to support all of that. So,
right. Can you imagine?
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Can you imagine calling up Verizon for service and having the tech come out and, oh no, I don't have any Zigbee dimmers. I have Z-Waves only on my truck today. I mean, that's what they don't want to have happen. So it makes sense for them to just kind of circle around one technology and just build on that. I mean, and for their use case, it absolutely makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, and I know it was a rhetorical question, but yes, I can imagine that, because as you and I both know, as professional systems integrators, those are the exact challenges that we deal with on a daily basis. And that's why there's still this wide gulf between do-it-yourself and professionally installed systems, is because making all of these devices talk to each other and making them do that in a way that's seamless and reliable is still very, very difficult. And even though there's tons of advances being made in home automation and all this technology is super exciting, it's still really difficult to bring it all together. And so these companies like Verizon have to take that into consideration when they launch a product or service such as this one.
Right. Yeah. They're there to make it easy for someone to get started with a simple home automation system, and probably fairly inexpensive. Who knows what this will come out costing, but traditionally they've been low. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be, because it's going to be a monthly subscription kind of thing, and that's where they make their money. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. It's, rumors are that it should be launching sometime this summer. So again, it's not officially out there in the market yet, but sounds like it's coming. So we'll just have to keep an eye on it.
Yep, I'm a Fios customer, and I'll keep an eye on the mail and see what comes in.
So you can be our guinea pig.
No thanks.
Fair enough.
It looks like LG is getting into the smart lamp business, just like seemingly everyone else.
Yeah, it's kind of becoming a crowded space, isn't it?
It's kind of cool though. I mean, for basic home automation or basic lighting control, you're basically, it looks like they're saying theirs is going to cost about $32. But you get a light, you put it into the existing socket that you have, whether it's, I guess, in a lamp or a in the ceiling or part of the fan fixture, and you flip the light switch on and it powers up, and you can log onto it with your phone and make changes and do basic automation off of it. That's kind of cool, I think. So I'm happy if more people start throwing their hats in the ring on this one. This is something that's pretty cool to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's great. And so it sounds like you got the same impression that I did. And I was reading from a few different sources, and I couldn't quite tell. Does this require a hub? Like with the Philips Hue, you go out and you buy your actual bulbs that you screw in, but you also have to have the separate Zigbee base station. But from what I was reading, it sounded to me like these don't require that separate base station. But then I read another article that sort of implied that it did, and I wasn't totally clear on that. Do you know?
No, I'm not 100% sure, but I imagine it's kind of like the LIFX bulb. I don't know if you've seen that one. It's pretty much like the Hue, but it basically creates its own Wi-Fi connection to your home Wi-Fi system. It looks like there's no hub involved. You just buy the lamps and plug them in, and they work. And that's really cool. That's a novel idea. Just trying to see how much they cost right now. They're about $100. No, the LIFX. Mm-hmm. I'll put those in the show notes, which will be at HomeTech.fm/shows/8. If anybody wants to go there and see all the good stuff that we've talked about, there'll be a link to the LIFX there. And the reason I kind of know about them, I've been kind of paying attention to them for a while, but they just released an SDK or an API this week for developers to start doing fancy things, and I've seen a couple really cool projects come along from them. So I mean, the LG looks very similar to this particular product, although it's a third of the cost. So hey, cool. Let's keep it. Let's keep more product hitting the market.
$32. Yeah. $32 for a bulb, which is insanely cheap. I mean, that's not that much more expensive than just a regular old LED bulb that you want to go out and buy. So the price points are really coming down, which is very exciting. And like I said, just to circle back, I do get the impression that this is just a sort of a standalone functionality bulb in the sense that you can just plug it in. You don't need a separate hub, and you can control it straight from your phone. The story I read said that users only need like a Bluetooth connection, and most smartphones have Bluetooth, so that would imply that it doesn't require a hub. And it specifically said Philips. It was comparing it to Philips Hue, so it said Philips Hue requires a separate Zigbee base station to achieve the same connectivity. So I don't know. We'll have to look into that a little bit more and maybe touch on that in the follow-up notes. But either way, at $32 a pop, it's extremely affordable. It looks like a really cool product. The one thing we haven't mentioned, and we should, is that currently, at the time of this recording, it's only available in South Korea, from what I read. So this is not available stateside right now.
No, and that's I guess to be expected, I suppose. But LG is lucky gold star. It's a pretty major
player.
Yeah, he's a pretty major player over in Korea. So I can imagine that they would launch their new product there first, and hopefully it'll make it over here, because this is a pretty compelling product at a pretty compelling price point. So we'll see what happens. I also noted that you had Android on the notes here. We had Android 4.3 or iOS 6 and later, and that tells me that's a Bluetooth low energy device. So
yeah, no, I had the same thought. So I'm led to believe I'm led to believe that this is capable of communicating directly to your smartphone, which is very cool. Like, not needing that extra hub sounds like a small thing, but I do believe that is the future of home automation, is that the hub will be your smartphone or your tablet. We've seen some of that going on with other devices that we've talked about recently. So that I thought was kind of an interesting footnote.
Yep. Will be interesting. Let's see what. Hopefully they get over here, and we'll see what happens. We get to play around with them and see how well they work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So looks like Apple. This was covered quite a bit in a few other places, but Apple and Comcast kind of have been talking to have a set-top box deal.
Yep. Yeah, it's one of those stories that you and I have spoke off air plenty of times, and the Apple stuff gets covered ad nauseum, right? But I feel like we'd be remiss not to at least mention this, because it is an interesting story. With Apple and Comcast seem to be entering talks to, set up basically a set-top box that would do live TV. And this would be a pretty big news if this actually does come together. There's a lot of legal hurdles and complications that would need to be worked out, and it remains to be seen if this is actually the real deal, but it was very widely reported. So
yeah, I mean, I have no doubt that they've definitely been talking. We've heard rumors from a number of cable companies throughout North America, if not the world, that Apple has been approaching them, but who knows that has been about, whether it's content or this kind of interesting technology that hopefully they call AppleTiVo. Maybe that's my joke, but it's a bad joke. But
yeah, it was pretty bad.
Sorry. So, but it's also interesting timing. Comcast is in the midst of purchasing Time Warner, so this may be something to do along. I'm not a stock expert. I don't know how these large companies purchase each other, but I know that really strange things do come up when there are big movements and big money in play, and this could just be a rumor to make Comcast look a little bit better, to their investors and people who are, going to approve this merger between Time Warner. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure this is a real story. Although I certainly hope it is, because the cable boxes Comcast has are just absolutely terrible. I mean, if there's any cable box that a custom integrator gets and just has nightmares about, it's dealing with Comcast. So they are the bottom of the barrel. Yeah. So if Apple is involved in making set-top boxes that actually work, hey, I'm all for that.
Well, and that's an interesting aspect of the story is, like, are these cable companies, maybe they actually have an interest in not doing that anymore. Like, they don't really make money off of the hardware, and the set-top boxes are so antiquated, and they've got so many different models of them out there. And it's got to be a nightmare to support them all. And
they don't.
Yeah, and they don't. And it's just, it's got to be a money pit for them.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, these boxes are they're clunky. They just are not reliable. They generate a ton of heat. So they've got to have issues related to that, because very, very few people account for proper ventilation for their AV equipment. So I'm sure the shelf life on these things is generally pretty bad. And I wouldn't be surprised if the cable companies were actually very interested in just not providing the hardware anymore. And maybe a company like Apple can do it better, and it's a win-win for everyone. So that's an interesting aspect to the story, and we'll have to see how that plays in. I don't know, obviously, with your speculation about, is this just maybe a story related to the merger or the purchase of Time Warner by Comcast? Who knows? And with Apple, it's always, like, notoriously difficult to tell what's real and what's just the rumor mill. But I get the feeling that something like this is coming, and it was reported so widely. And I think the Wall Street Journal was the first one to break this story. And they're not generally known for Apple like hysteria. I don't think like other tech publications can be. So I don't know. I think it's legit. I think it's coming. I don't know if it's coming as soon as we're sort of led to believe right now, but it's gonna get here sooner or later. Apple is making their way into the living room. I do think that this is part of their long-term strategy, and so it'll be, something to watch. I don't totally know or totally understand if this is like going to be a completely separate product from Apple TV, or, are these going to diverge into two separate products, or is this going to be kind of the next generation of Apple TV as we know it, like the same little box that you buy and plug in, but it's just going to be built with more functionality? I don't know if those are going to end up being two different products, or if this is kind of the future of the product that we already know. Do you know what I mean?
They've got to call it AppleTiVo. I mean, that's all there is to it. I'll take. I guess they won't be able to do that, but that's what it needs to be called.
Maybe we can run out and trademark it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it will get very far. I don't know. It sounds like a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Yes.
So yeah, no, I don't know if we'll see any of this, but I will welcome an Apple TiVo box into my living room if that ever happens. Even if I have to pay extra for it, I wouldn't care, because they do such a good job with hardware and a good job with the end user experience, that I think that what you get from your cable box providers. I mean, I have a TiVo, and even that's kind of rough around the edges. But I wanted to mention, I saw a picture that had an iPhone from 2006, so that would have been the iPhone 1, the first one that came out, and then an iPhone S from this last year, and the year, so 2006 and 2014 or 2013, I guess, and then below that they had a picture of the Motorola cable box that existed in 2006, and guess what? It's the same cable box, and I'll try and find it in the show notes. But it just goes to show that these companies are not interested at all in innovating their product and improving the user experience for you. What they want to do is make it easier for you to pay your bill online and that kind of stuff. And that's really what they're interested in. So if there is a company, Apple or Google, who wants to put together a decent cable box, I'm all for it.
Absolutely. And but I think the biggest challenge is that we're not just talking about a change to the way that hardware is approached when it comes to cable, but this is represents a complete shift in the distribution model. And that's where the big challenge is going to come, because this isn't just about a new set-top box. This is about cable on demand. This is about changing the entire distribution model. This is about a la carte channel selection, on-demand viewing, all of that. And these are, like it or not, they're still kind of revolutionary ideas when it comes to the way that legacy cable companies approach their business model and how they make money.
But
so
I think all that is the speculation part of it.
I agree to a certain extent, but would you disagree that change is coming? I mean, to me, that feels inevitable.
It feels inevitable, but the products that are set up, so the cable companies, the networks, the delivery methods they have, the way they make shows, the money that gets changed around for advertisers is so much more than what they will get for selling a la carte, that model is going to be extremely hard to change. It's not like the music industry where, they were in shambles with MP3s hitting the market. These guys are making money hands over fist right now, and they're not going to give that up. They
are, but relative to what they were making, maybe 10 years ago, like I know a lot of people that don't have cable anymore. And that didn't used to be the case, like even 5 years ago. But there's so many other options now with over-the-top content and all of this just shifting landscape, that I agree with you that this is a very entrenched business model, and it's going to be extremely difficult for them to adapt and change. But there's nothing that's going to make that change happen quicker than somebody like Apple coming in and saying, nope, this is how we do it. I mean, look what they did with iTunes. That like disrupted the entire business of music distribution. And like you said, I mean, that was a little bit of a different scenario.
Yeah, they were already hurting. They had Napster and Audio Galaxy and all those other nice MP3 services that we were using to illegally download the music they were selling, and they were still trying to push CDs down everybody's throat. You know, this is a completely different market. I think the speculation is that, you know, we'll all be able to just stream the programs that we want on demand, and I think that would be great. I'm just not sure. I'm not convinced myself that that's going to be something they're willing to do for us, in a way that you're thinking. It looks like.
Well, I'll say this though. I'll say this because I don't think necessarily that people want to stream everything a la carte. And what I'm talking about is sort of this idea of like when you sit down to listen to music. Comparing Spotify to Pandora is a perfect example. Like, and I know they both have similar offerings, but the way I look at it is when I sit down and I just want music to play and I want somebody else to do the work and pick the content for me and just play something that you think I might be interested in, I go to Pandora. If I have a specific song that I want to hear, I go to Spotify. And those are sort of, I'm drawing a comparison here because I think the future of cable sort of looks to me, and I'm obviously speculating, but something like Pandora, where you're not necessarily hand selecting every single program that you want to watch. Like it will be a service that you can just turn on and let it play, but it's going to play content based on things that you have watched before and things that you have expressed interest in. And it'll just automatically do that. And it can intersperse commercials in there. And that's sort of, to me, what the future of cable looks like. It's not going to stay the way that it is now forever. It's just not going to happen. But it's only a question to me of how long that's going to take.
I don't know. That kind of sounds to me like what we already have. You know, if you like watching old movies, then you press like on that Pandora app or whatever. Now you're watching old movies, so that's basically you're watching TCM all the time, you know. And if you like watching country music videos,
so maybe
you're watching.
I'm missing it though. But what does that with video, with like cable content? Like we're still talking about music. What does that with TV? Like what can I sit? YouTube a while ago had Lean Back. Do you remember the YouTube Lean Back platform?
No, I've never seen that.
It was, well, it's gone now, but it was this whole idea 3-4 years ago where it was like a modified YouTube interface that was designed for the living room where you could select something that you wanted to watch and then it would just sort of automatically play similar videos. And it was an interface that was designed more for the living room. So the whole idea was that when people are sitting at home cooking dinner or having dinner or doing whatever it is they're doing, they don't always want to like have to hand select every program that they watch. And the idea behind YouTube Lean Back was that it'll just sort of play. You hit play on something you want, and then it'll find something similar, and it'll just sort of keep going, and it'll do its thing. And to me, I thought that was really cool, and I don't know why it didn't stick. I'm sure there's various reasons, but that's kind of the future of TV as I see it, is like it will just play and it'll pick things for you, and you're not just going to want to hand select everything you watch. But at the same time, it's not going to be this model that we see now where you turn the channel on and it just plays what it plays. Like it's going to be more tailored to the individual viewer.
Oh, I get that for sure. I mean, that is going to come because the advertisers are kind of demanding that, I suppose. But it almost feels like that's the model that we have now with the 3,000 cable channels that we have. And if you're watching HGTV, well, you know you're going to see an ad from Lowe's and Home Depot on there. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you're, maybe ABC and NBC and the big networks are going to be the ones that lose because they're more generic, right? They have to appeal to a huge broad range of audience, whereas an AMC could come in and produce a Mad Men or a Walking Dead, for a very small subset of people who like that type of drama,
Yeah, no, you're right, and that's been the whole over our lifetime is that's been the whole sort of transition of TV. So you're right. More specialized channels are doing better, and the channels that have to appeal to a more broad audience are struggling. But I think we're just going to see the continuation of that. Is I guess what I'm getting at.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's interesting to watch play out. Over the next couple of years. I suspect that your internet is going to be delivered, or sorry, your cable is going to be delivered on the same channel, the same medium as your internet is. So instead of plugging your TV into the wall with that old coax cable that we used in 1960s, you're going to plug your TV in. Either it's going to go on by Wi-Fi, or you're going to plug it in with a Cat5 cable to your router. It's going to get onto the internet, and that internet connection is actually going to serve your cable connection into your house. And that's where I see something like this going, like something that with Apple talking about that. I see that is what they're talking about with Comcast on how they can deliver this last mile. How they can improve the last mile delivery and make that a smoother process to the end user. If they can get in there and revamp some of the servers that Comcast use and maybe beef them up. I don't know if Apple is more qualified than some other companies to do that, but if they can get in there with the right idea and the right technology and put a TV on the wall or a small box that hooks into your TV that just connects into the internet and delivers the content reliably, I mean, I think that would be huge. The day is coming where that coax line, that RG6 coming into your house is going to disappear. But for most people, I mean, you're not going to get away from that in rural areas where, or in smaller cities, but big cities, your content's coming from the internet now.
Right.
And that's where it will be from in the future. So I see in the next 5 years or so, at least I said 2015 in 2012, but I'm not confident enough to say in the next year right now, but maybe in the next 2 or 3 years, you'll see a cable company switch completely over to using Cat5 as a delivery method, Cat5 being your internet connection as a delivery method. And, everything will be done over that one type of service. And I suppose if you look at it and get right down to the nitty gritty, Verizon and AT&T Uverse, they're already doing that. So that's the fiber to the home channels. They're bringing that internet right up to your house, and they're using fiber internet to deliver your cable and your internet. So it's going to be, but I'm talking about taking that and plugging it right into your TV and having an interface that's smooth on your TV. That's where I see all this going, and that could be something that they have been talking to Comcast about, and hopefully, we'll see something good come out of this, because like I was saying, Comcast just and these major cable companies just haven't delivered on a decent product for anyone to use.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like we have, slightly different takes on it, but we both sort of agree that and I think you'd be hard pressed to disagree that the current model with the current set-top boxes and all of that's going away.
It's safe to say that you and I do not like the status quo.
It's going away, and it is going to change. And I mean, we're already seeing that. Like DirecTV, I know, has a few partnerships out there, and there are some models, I believe, by Samsung and Sony, where they're DirecTV ready TVs. So I actually haven't played around with this, and I don't know exactly how it works, but I do know that you can basically, if you have DirecTV in your house, and I think you have to have at least one set-top box, and we'll have to look into this a little bit and maybe touch on it in a future episode, but there is a way that you can, with these DirecTV ready panels, you can have the full functionality of DirecTV with the user interface and all of the on-demand content and all of that available to you without actually having a set-top box dedicated for that TV. So
and that's what I'm talking about, that kind of thin client that could live inside the TV.
Yeah, where the logic and the brains and all of that lives inside of the TV. And I do agree that that's the future.
Well, hopefully we'll see something come of that. Good discussion, though. I mean, that's.
Well, I always say that the one thing, like you and I are both home automation professionals, and we work in people's houses, and we do all kinds of crazy different lighting and shades and security and climate control and all that. But the one thing that, generally speaking, people interact with more than any other piece of technology in their home is their TV. And that is, maybe the one exception to that might be like smartphones and tablets and computers. But generally speaking, that is the piece of technology in people's homes that they interact with the most. So I think it's really interesting to talk about where this technology is going and how it's evolving and changing. And so we'll have to keep an eye on this.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right. Well, I think we've probably covered enough for today. I wanted to briefly mention that next week we're going to be interviewing Martin Refsall, who's on the marketing team at Canary. And I'm really excited to talk to him. Canary, for listeners who may not have heard of it, is it's like a standalone kind of security home monitoring solution that was funded on Kickstarter. And it's a really cool product. So I'm definitely excited to talk to him, and I want to make sure listeners know about that and tune in for that. That's going to be episode 9, correct? We're on 8 right now.
Yep, it'll be 9. I'm
so episode
super excited
9.
About this. So I've been looking at Canary since they started announcing that their product was going to be made, and it looks like a huge disruption to kind of an old industry. So I'm excited to talk to them about it.
Yeah, it looks like a great product, and I think you have some smart locks headed your way you want to talk about soon. Is that correct?
I do. I'm hoping to get it installed. I have it on order. Actually, it's at my house now. Ordered it last week. I left the house, went to the hardware store, and I came back and my wife was gone. So naturally, I sat on the pool deck, pondering what I could do to solve this dilemma.
Not locked out anymore.
Exactly. So
nice.
I tweeted out, I'm locked out of the house again, and some of my coworkers and friends in the industry were like, it's 2014. You can do something about that.
Yeah, you're a home automation professional. Like, this is not acceptable.
Exactly. So as I was on the pool deck, I went ahead and ordered one in, and I should have it installed this before the end of the week here, but I'll have at least a week or two to kind of play around with it before we do an episode on how they work. So
nice. Well, I look forward to hearing about that. I've been thinking about picking a similar product up myself. So
yeah, it seems like it's the easiest. Well, kind of one of the easiest way. You don't need an electrician to get involved, but it's one of the easier ways to get involved with a kind of a simple home automation project. It is kind of complicated. To pull all this little parts and pieces off of a lock and then kind of put it all back together. I was kind of stunned as how many parts were in the box, but that's to be expected, I suppose. And not trying to discourage anybody, but there is probably a small learning curve. A bunch of screws. Don't lose any of them. I'm sure they're all important.
Nice. Well, yeah, we'll get into all that because I think that's important for people to understand. But in the meantime, Seth, let people know where they might be able to find you online if they want to just touch base with you on anything.
Sure. I'm at Seth P. Johnson on Twitter. That's by far the easiest way to get a hold of me. And you can fill out the feedback form on HomeTech.fm and send Jason and I both an email and message. Jason, where can they find you?
Absolutely. They can find me at Jason Griffing on Twitter. Also, check us out on Twitter at HomeTech Podcast. And of course, swing by the website at HomeTech.fm. Leave us some feedback. Let us know if there's any topics you want us to cover. Let us know how we're doing. We would absolutely love to hear from our listeners. So that would be great. And Seth, it was great chatting with you tonight. And I look forward to our conversation next week.
Yep. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Have a good one, Jason.
All right. You too.